You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey, General Hospital fans. So Drew Cain is going to live despite half of Port Charles and most of the fandom wanting him dead. But now I'm wondering, just on some recent hints and sort of Easter eggs in the episodes, whether Willow Tait might be the mastermind behind his shooting. It's Belinda from Soap Dirt, and we're going to talk about some of the red flags that point to Willow as the shooter who might have put 2 bullets into Drew so that she could frame Michael in a 2 birds, 1 stone plot. Hey, please click subscribe. And now let's talk about this. So right now, Anna, Chase, and Dante are hot on the trail of who shot Drew Cain. And Michael is one of those at the top of the list. Willow is too, but I think they're more intent on Michael, and they're about to be digging into Curtis and others soon. And the thing is, Drew is awake and he really wants Michael to go down for it, but it would be wild if it's somebody much closer to home and much closer to Drew's heart who shot him. So the first thing is, Willow went from furious at Drew and blaming him for losing her kids and sleeping with her mom to now being willing to get back with him. That's a very abrupt reversal, and sure, it could be because she believes Drew will get the kids back. But then again, maybe Willow has a plan to punish Drew for letting her down and for Michael taking her kids, a plan that would punish both Drew and Michael. The second thing is, of course, Willow was out in the rain, she was soaking wet, and her whereabouts were unaccounted for when Drew was shot. Lucas was looking for Willow at the hospital because she was on shift and was nowhere to be found, and Liz was covering for her, even though Lucas advised Elizabeth not to do that. Then the third thing, of course, just we know Willow has no real alibi for Drew's shooting. And of course, Nina said they were out for a walk together, but the cops don't seem to buy it. And Willow suspected that Nina was just looking to get an alibi for herself. But the fact of the matter is, nobody knows where Willow was when Drew was shot. Willow ditched her shift in the middle of work, and then she came back waterlogged on a very rainy night. So she might have headed over there and put 2 bullets in her estranged fiance as part of a wicked plot. A fourth thing that caught my eye was how Willow was behaving when she supposedly was hearing for the first time from Chase that Drew had been shot. Willow was distraught, she was shaking, and she asked Chase if Drew was going to make it. Now, Willow's a nurse who works at General Hospital, so it seems like she would know more than Chase or could easily find out about Drew's prognosis. So in a way, I felt like maybe Willow was being performative, or she was hysterical because she thought she'd killed him with those 2 bullets and was a little worried. So when Willow then talked to Lucas, we saw this fear in her eyes, but that might have been fear that Drew would die, or maybe fear that he wouldn't die. So the fifth thing on my mind about this is the last thing Drew saw, the last thing he was looking at just before he got shot, was the photo on the mantle of him and Willow in happier times, and he'd just gone and gotten her engagement ring out of the safe, technically the same ring that Michael had given her because it's a Quartermaine heirloom. But it could have been a hint that the woman Drew was staring at in the photo was the woman who was also behind him with a gun. So if indeed Willow is the one who shot Drew, I think it's not just residual anger over losing her kids in court. It might be something a little more diabolical, a plan that Willow cooked up to get rid of Drew, who has ruined her life, and to also make sure Michael doesn't wind up with the kids. So what I'm wondering is, if Willow shot Drew, did she do it knowing it would implicate Michael? I think so. Willow Willow might have cooked up this plan right after Chase told her that Judge Heron was dead, which would lower her chances of getting visitation with Wiley and Amelia. So Willow might have felt this urgency to change the narrative. Plus, Drew's threats about the judge being bribed wasn't making any headway with anybody to get her visitation. So at that point, Willow was completely desperate to make sure that she wasn't kept apart from her kids permanently, and getting both Drew and Michael out of the way could make it happen. Now that Drew's conscious, he already is thinking how to spin this to help Willow. And it's not like Drew would ever suspect that Willow would shoot him. So she may just be rolling with this twist and making the best of Drew surviving the 2 bullets. And that could be why Willow easily agreed to Drew's plan to frame Michael for shooting him, whether he did it or not, because that might have been Willow's plan all along. And Drew said that's best for Willow, and he plans to conveniently get back his memory that Michael was in his house and is the shooter. And Drew said he would do that when the timing is right. So Willow told Drew she's on board if it's going to help her get her kids back. But again, this might have already been Willow's plan. She might be a step or two ahead of Drew and was already plotting Michael's downfall. Also, remember, Willow is a nurse, and they made a big deal of Michael being up at the hospital for routine blood work. So Willow might also be planning to keep up with another of Drew's plots to make Michael look like an addict. That routine blood work can't be for nothing, or why would they even mention it? And when Drew mentioned, I think it was more than a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago, about using Portia to frame Michael as an opioid addict, Willow was totally on board then, so she might be doing that now. What's interesting is Jacinda was caught out with Drew when he was on ketamine, and now very conveniently, Jacinda just happens to be Michael's alibi for the shooting when we all know he was near Drew's house that night all alone thinking mean thoughts. But if you recall, Jacinda told Michael she came back to Port Charles to blackmail Drew. Now, she didn't mention Portia and Nina, which is where she went to ask for money. So maybe that part of what Jacinda said is true, or maybe Willow contacted Jacinda and offered to pay her to help pull off this scheme. Willow might have planned when she would shoot Drew and set up Jacinda to run into Michael, knowing he'd need an alibi for the shooting. And Willow might have even paid Jacinda to drop some drugs into Michael's drink when he wasn't looking, so his drug test would show positive for opioids or something like that. Also, with him using Jacinda for an alibi, that could make him look really bad, especially if he pops positive on a drug test, since Drew was caught doing drugs with Jacinda. That would show she has a pattern of behavior of partying and doing drugs with wealthy men. And that would make Michael look very bad in court, and his alibi could be called into question. Dante already doubts it, and Willow's lawyer saying that Michael was using drugs and hanging out with hookers could totally turn this custody case in Willow's favor. So, by the way, also, if you think that she can't be this devious, think again. The mom that raised her, Harmony Miller, was diabolical, and Willow has that terrible rotten DNA that Nell and Nina have that was passed down from awful Madeline Reeves. So yeah, I think Willow is more than capable of concocting a plan and putting a couple of bullets in Drew's back while setting up Michael. We know Willow would do anything to be with her kids, but does that include murder and a frame job, or at least attempted murder? We'll see.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.